Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 4DMethod 4D user group meeting. Today is August 25th, 2021. This is meeting number 51. Thanks for joining, and good to see everybody here again after a long summer, at least where I am. For some in the on the other side of the planet, it was a couple months of winter, but glad you're back. On our agenda today, I'll be again talking a little bit about 4DMethod, what we're doing here. We'll get some 4D news from Ricardo Mello and Louise Dalroy. Jim is out on vacation currently. Then we'll talk a little bit about the big news of the 4D v19 long-term support release. A little bit of content from the 4D open source community. I'll highlight a couple of 4D blog articles. There's almost too many great items to mention. So I just call out a few that catch my eye. I'm bringing back, at least for this meeting, what's to know in the knowledge base. We used to do this before the 4D blog came out, because the knowledge base is also full of really great content, and we'll be talking about some of the more recent articles.
The professional low-code platform that lets you meet.
Thank you. And then our special topic today, we have Komoncharoensiri joining us to talk about enriching your user interface and user experience. I always get tricked up with UX with Unicode special characters. So there's some real tricks in there, and tricks of the trade and things to make your application nicer looking quite easily just by using Unicode itself. Then we'll have some questions and answers and talk about our next meeting on October 6th. There's a couple of really great meetings coming up, including this one, but we've got some really awesome presenters from now until the end of the year, and hopefully some more next year as well. So my name is Brent Raymond. I organize the 4D user group, 4DMethod user group. Our website is 4dmethod.com, and we can be reached at the email 4dmethod@gmail.com. Started this a few years ago just to try and bring together people, developers, users of 4D out in the world who aren't always able to get together and hang out in person. We use this video conferencing along with the rest of the world currently for our meetings. All of the meetings are recorded and are available on the YouTube channel. So now I would say a really terrific library of content out there of presentations from basically people like you who've provided all the content that we look at in each of these meetings, and looking forward to all the next ones. Yeah, and our goal is really just to provide content all throughout the year in between summits and road shows and everything else that's out there, and just another channel for exposure about what can be done, what is being done with 4D, and 4D's role out there in the world. So thanks again for joining us. And I'd just like to start the meeting by again inviting all of you and any other 4D developer, 4D user out in the world, even if you're not a developer or not presenting from a technical aspect of things. This is a group for you. In fact, this is your group. We're here to see you show off your application, your product, or just some things you've been working on. All of 2022 is wide open for dates as far as presentations. I really want to especially put out an invitation for people whose Muttersprache, whose main language is not English. Don't be afraid. We're a friendly group, and there's plenty of other people out there who can also help us through any anything that needs further clarification when you're presenting. And if not, we can also do multiple presenters at once. So come and join us. Don't be shy. A lot of great things to talk about in the world of 4D out there. Check out our schedule at 4dmethod.com/schedule, and contact 4dmethod@gmail.com to just throw a meeting idea out there, and we'll see where we can get it on the schedule. So thanks so much. I'm going to pass it over to Ricardo and Louise to talk a little bit about some news from 4D.
Nice, Brent. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again. Thanks so much for inviting us. Happy to see, very happy to see Ed presenting today. He's one of our best technical resource. So I think you guys are going to have a kick of this meeting. Thank you, Brent, and all the 4DMethod team. You guys provide an incredible work for this community. We are proud to be here with you guys. And for everybody, I see some known faces there. Some people that I even talked last week with. So it's great to see you all here. This is a great thing. So as you can see, Jim, our dearest Jim, is out. He is in a well-deserved vacation in the mountains in California right now. So we hope he's having a great time. I'm sure he'll be back next. I know that we hope that he's not facing, as you guys know, all the fires in California and all that. We hope that air is going to be okay for him up there. But we hope that he is having a great time. So some of you already know me. I have been working with 4D for 5 years, actually 6 years by now. I worked most for Wakanda in the past. Now I'm working with 4D directly in the last 3 years. And in this meeting as well, I want to present to you our new marketing face, Louise. She is French, Louise Dahoy. She is French, and she is going to be part of an exchange program that 4D does with our brightest talents there in France. So she's supposed to come to USA. We're hoping that she'll be here soon as the borders open, and she will be your marketing contact in 4D. Okay, so for the USA team, she'll be here in the 4DMethod with Jim from now on. We hope for the next 2 years, she'll be here with us. So Louise, if you want to say a few words, that would be nice.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, I'm Louise. I've started working for 4D in June. So it's been like 3 months that I'm working at 4D, and it's been a really like a pleasure. I can see a lot of exciting activities that are coming, and I can't wait actually to be in the US. So as soon as I get there, I will be glad to meet as many people as I can. And yes, if you have any questions, or I don't know, if you want to be aware of anything, just email me. I will be glad to give you any information I can on for these activities. And yes, I really hope to meet you all soon when we can.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to have an event soon. Now we're all missing that. You guys know that he has a great tradition on events, so we look forward to that. So Brent, if you can go for the next slide, that would be great. So we want just make sure you all mark on your agendas and be aware that the 4D World Tour Live is coming. So we are sad that we're not going to be somewhere meeting you guys in our regular trainings and tour along the year. But we are creating something quite exciting, and it's going to be available this year. So we have a free live session. I strongly recommend you to sign for that if you haven't not yet. So we have 2 dates. The first one is already sold out, and we have the second one, which is the 23rd of September. So please be aware, if you have not yet signed for it, go for it. It's going to be interesting. We're going to have our team from the USA presenting some of the content. So it's going to be very nice. And we have just 36 spots remaining at this point. And also, as you guys are used to, the World Tour, we offer a lot of training. This time, we are making online, so you will be able to sign for the training and do your own schedule. And it can be, the sessions are going to be available from October to December. So as you know, we have $299 for partners. The importance to be a partner, it comes with lots of benefits, and training is one of them. And $499 for known partners. If you guys have any question, do not hesitate to contact Louise. If you have any issue, you can contact your commercial account manager. We are here to help and to make sure that you all get a spot on it. Okay, there is a possibility for us to extend a little bit. If the spots are gone, we may extend a few spots here and there, but we want to make sure that everybody gets trained. So if for some reason you got to those registering in our website, you go for to register and is already sold out, please contact us on the side, Louise, me, anybody in the team, because we're going to make a way for you guys to participate on this. Louise, do you have anything else to add here?
No, that's perfect. Just yeah, so the free live session, if you really want to be there, just go on our website right after this meeting, because as Ricardo said, we only have 36 spots remaining and the other date is sold out. And yeah, again, we will be glad to see you there. And then don't hesitate to also register for the live training, because it's going to be a really good event. And yeah, we can't wait to see you there.
Excellent. Yeah, and I guess this is to close up the agenda for us today, is that we have online training for beginners. That's very important. We're trying to do a big effort. This year, you guys have seen a lot of events, online events, and our learning center is growing. So we are now offering regular training for beginners. So if you have someone, if you know someone that wants to start with 4D, this is the best session. You will see everything that is modern in 4D in those sessions. We're talking about order, we're talking about project mode. We are going to give you the full spectrum of what 4D is now for a beginner. So we recommend you to spread the word. We want to have those sessions every time full. We have just 13 spots remaining. Every single training you have done so far has been packed. So we count on you as well to spread the word, and let's grow the community, as we are in a phase right now that we think that 4D needs more young developers. So we are pushing that agenda. You guys have the support from our team, and let us know if you need anything specific, if you go for a training and for some reason you need more, we're going to create advanced training as well. We have already advanced training, but so it's not scheduled yet, but it's probably going to come this year, one more session. So from October 4 to October 8, I have 13 spots remaining and 5 sessions, 90 minutes, and it's a great content, and I strongly recommend you guys to send this to your friends. As you know, if you know 4D, you are easily employable. Everybody's looking for 4D developers those days. So Louise, do you want to add anything on here?
No, perfect. Nothing to add.
Cool. And I want to point out something just to finish, Brent, that you guys know our website. There was the latest blog is talking about the performance of 4D with the M1 chip. And I strongly recommend you to check that out, because 4D has been ahead of the curve, and we've already able to use the new M1 chips with native capacities, and the performance is astonishing. There is a great post done by Roland Mulder from Switzerland. I strongly recommend you guys to check that out because it's showing that we are ahead of the curve, and if you are dealing with performance issues, that can help a lot. And I think that's all, Brent, for us.
Cool. Well, thanks, Ricardo and Luis. Yeah, it's a great time to start with 4D. It's the language is so fresh and new these days. The capabilities have really changed over the past 5 or 10 years even. I think so much so that even some of us feel like we could use some beginner training with the new features. So it's I'm almost jealous of people being able to start with a fresh look of things and blast off from there. But the online training, that is certainly no reason to skip the free training, and the rest of it is going to be extremely valuable as well. So thanks again, guys. And in the training, I'm sure they'll talk about V19 long-term support, which was just fully released. It has, and I wasn't really sure what to put on this slide, honestly, because it's a beastly release of 4D. I mean, with the R release strategy that they've had over time. I mean, we talk about each of the R releases as they come out, and each of the R releases themselves could well be full numbered releases of 4D. But in short, for anyone that's not aware of what's come out in version 19, it's an accumulation of all of the R releases from version 18. It's the object-oriented programming in 4D, as Ricardo mentioned, and I'll mention a little bit in a minute, the 4D for Apple Silicon, which is their own new type of chip, non-Intel chip. The project mode as opposed to binary mode, which all classic applications of 4D are originally. 4D for mobile, previously titled 4D for iOS, but now they did a full release of 4D for Android as well. So now it's 4D for at least iOS and Android, which is most mobile devices. Orda classes, Orda data classes, 4D Write Pro advances. I mean, they're constantly marching out 4D Write Pro and 4D View Pro capabilities. It's really pretty incredible, and it's exciting to see what's coming next. Really, this is a jumping off platform for all of the features that will be coming out in the R releases of version 19, which again are going to be revolutionary for 4D systems. I'm very excited for how they're extending the data classes and making sort of virtual fields, virtual structure, and fully embracing the data classes themselves, being able to write functionality and your own formulas, your own code into the data classes. So it's really going to be neat, and it's going to open up a lot of incredible capabilities through 4D for iOS, and for opening up all of your application logic to the web quite easily. So really an exciting time to dig into 4D version 19. I also wanted to highlight, I'm including this in the 4D open source community, even though it came out on the forum, but in the spirit of sharing code out there, something that I'll give the German name a try. Michael Hune from Munich in Germany. He shared some code for changing compiler directives to var syntax automatically. Var syntax being just a newer, fresher a more capable way of declaring your variables in 4D. It's awesome, along with Vincent, VDL, Vincent De La Show. He tweaked it up a little bit and added some shortcut keys to be able to easily change your declarations immediately with just a shortcut in your method editor. I've started using it profusely and all over the place now. And it's just a great time saver. So check it out on the forum, and with Mikhail's GitHub. It's definitely worth adding to your macro list. If you're not using macros, you should be. We should have some presentations on macros. I tell you, a lot of neat stuff you can do with those. But anyways, moving on to the 4D blog. Again, almost impossible to list all the great articles that are coming out constantly on the 4D blog. But just to name a few, as Ricardo mentioned, Roland Mulder wrote a nice article about his experience compiling for native Apple M1 chips, and the boost in performance that he got. It's substantial. It makes me want a new Mac, and to replace my Mac server with the next Macs coming out with the M2. Anyways, it's pretty impressive, the performance that people are getting with 4D on the new Macs and the new Mac chips. Very exciting and very forward thinking, just like 4D originally was with preemptive processing and many other things, Unicode included, that they really jump on these things right away before even many people are talking about that. Wow, okay. Was me. Yeah, another article being the 4D for iOS. Again, just really incredible stuff coming out with that. It's quickly and rapidly approaching a place where, especially with what 4D is doing in their data store, to be able to expose all of that directly through 4D for iOS. It's a very exciting time for that particular product. This article concentrated on sorting the contents of a list form, which is available. It's an action that's available through R2, 19 R2. A lot of times the newer blog articles are focusing on the upcoming R release. Just like the next topic here, show online documentation directly from the code editor. That is really nice. I have done a lot of directly searching on collection member functions and whatnot manually. Oh, the horror. But now you will be able to just press a hotkey, same F1 or Command K, Control K, those kind of things directly from within your object code, and get taken directly to the new documentation site. We caught a glimpse of that a little bit in one of our previous 4DMethod meetings, but now it's here with R2. And then another one that's a very useful feature is being able to create blob attributes in objects. That was missing originally. There's a new 4D type, 4D.blob, and there's that article has a very good discussion review of benefits and drawbacks, like why you would want to use either a C blob, the old blob type, or the new object blob type. There are certainly some efficiencies by passing around references to blobs as opposed to the entire blobs to methods here and there. So if you are dealing with large blobs, you might want to check that out. So some great content as usual in the blog. great reviews of the new features and helps you to plan your development accordingly for upcoming releases. And also, as I mentioned earlier, with the knowledge base, I've overlooked some of the content in the past few meetings in deference to the 4D blog, but the knowledge base still comes out with a torrent of great tips, tech tips and tech notes at a constant rate. A lot of problems that developers have turn into solutions that appear on the knowledge base, some of which namely are discussions on storing user login information securely, something we should all be doing. Wink, wink, if you're not. I've seen people not, so that's naughty. And there's some good, even newer methods, newer commands for facilitating the encryption of people's passwords. Another article on logging specific client actions in the server logs. That's quite nice to be able to track that, sort of have a heat map of client actions that only are recorded on the server. It's actually a kind of a crafty tip. Another tip talking about running PDFs in the web area, which is nice if you want to display PDFs. I mean, PDFs are everywhere. It's a great capability that you can natively just draw a web area in a form and boom, you can browse PDFs with all of their functionality. There's another article on server calls count, again using request logs, not the diagnostic logs, but request logs to be able to track how much you're harassing the server with your client calls. It's always important with our systems not to barrage our servers with repeated calls, and that's a good way that you can track what the clients are really doing in the background without getting too deep into the code. Speaking of deep, the next article is about deeper level MSC verify. It's mostly just a tech tip to remind you that if you're running verify on your system while it's running, it won't quite check everything. So what you should be doing is shutting down your application and starting it into full maintenance and security center mode and checking from there, and then it'll get a thorough check. So that's good to know. And finally, just another one that is a great full tech note from Not Doe, collection support on pop-up drop-down lists, combo boxes, and tab controls. This is a new feature. I am not sure if it's 19 or 19R2 specifically. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's in 19 land. That you can use collections with form objects, something that is really nice, especially if you fully embraced collections and objects and form, using the form variable, form object for darn near everything. But yeah, that's a really nice article exploration of how to do that and why collections are nice to use as opposed to arrays, and the sort of strategies for doing things like, not just showing a list of the continents like you see in the screen grabs there, but also having the option to say select a continent and then have the list not include select a continent. So it's a little tricky, and it's a nice to be able to walk through that. And that's one of the advantages of having the knowledge base and having a lot of great content constantly available in the knowledge base and the blog. And if you look on the knowledge base close enough, you'll see some nice articles in there, some of them from a little while ago, from our special topic presenter, Ad Chamras, Komoncharoensiri. Doing my best. Sorry about that, but no, it's my pleasure to introduce Ad today. Ad is Director of Technical Services at 4D.
Okay. What's up?
If you're not muted, please mute yourself.
Is it?
Let's see. There we go. It must be them. And right. Again, Ad is the Director of Technical Services at 4D. Most of us are very familiar with Ad. Over the past almost 21 years, he's if you've ever attended a 4D summit or road show, you've been probably chatting with Ad and seeing him present. If you've reached out to 4D for technical support, it's probably crossed his desk. If you've read postings in the knowledge base, there's over 140 or so from Ad himself, I believe, and many of which that he has probably been the editor. He's if you've ever interacted on discuss.4D or previously the iNug, if you've attended the 4D training or virtual or in person, or if you've watched any of the recent version releases and webinars, which are great for understanding what's new in 4D, as we all know, at some point you were lucky to have Ad at your service. His job as Director of Technical Services encompasses a lot of roles. He's a leader and a coach and mentor for the support staff there at 4D. He collaborates with marketing and research and development and finding modern solutions for customers like us. And he helps to plan all the conferences that we go to and trade shows and all the presentations that come out of 4D, at least in North America. So he does all these things with a peaceful and pleasant demeanor that we are all used to, which makes him a joy to work with. So Ad, welcome to 4DMethod, and thanks for presenting today.
Thank you, Brent. Hi, everybody. Hope you can hear me okay. If I need to speak louder, let me know.
I got a question, Ad.
Yes, sir.
Did I hear right that you've been with 4D for 21 years?
You heard right.
Congratulations. That is a real milestone. 21
Thank you.
years.
It is, yeah. That was it is incredible.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure working with all of you guys, and I was blessed to be working in a good environment. All of my coworkers are great, so that's probably why I'm here for so long. And besides of the fact that I love what I do, and makes things much easier for me.
And the real question is, how come he can keep this young face and not a single gray hair? That's the mystery of 4D.
Well, if you look closer, there's a lot of grays over here now.
You get a new version of Ad every 18 months. That's why.
All right, guys, let's get started, I guess. So hi, everybody. If for anyone who don't know me, my name is Ad. You can call me Ad. My full name is on the screen. But I want to keep it simple. Before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of a background. I always enjoyed programming in 4D and doing user interface design. And for so many years now, I have always resort to go and find some icons and things that will help my design look and feel, improve look and feel in my application. And over the years, I tried do kind of almost cheating my way out of reusing some of the 4D icons and stuff like that, which is fine. In some contexts, it seems to be straightforward and it's familiar to many of you. If you are using 4D application and you get the default icon And those are the icons that, have been designed by our team. But there are also some needs that I have to get. For example, an icon that may not be available to me. So I have to go somewhere and try to get maybe a free icon or maybe purchase an icon so I can use in my own application. And a few years ago when I was working with JPR and I'm doing a presentation at the World Tour, I believed at the time he has a simple application that demonstrate how to, display emoji on the screen. At the time, I didn't think anything about it until I started playing with his application and then have some discussion with someone not too long ago. So I thought, well, maybe I'll look into it a bit more. And I discovered, a bunch of stuff, right? I normally don't think about those things for being used as an icon at all. So if you look at the emoji and all of the new characters that come out that sort of are web inspired, they are part of the Unicode. And 4D does support Unicode for many, many years now in, many contexts. Depends on how you want to use it. So I start playing with it and then come up with this idea to write a tech note about it. So let me go ahead and show you the database that I have. I'm going to share my screen. I think, Brent, you have to release your screen. Okay. Okay. Let's collapse that. So this tech note was written a few months ago and was published. And it comes with an example database that you can kind of follow. And I try to create a tech note in the way that it actually give you as simple explanation and example as possible. And when you want to use the example, it will be easy for you to integrate into your application. So in this example, in this window, you'll see that there is a few things on the left hand side here. But the first thing is basically the Unicode character palette that I created. It's sort of similar to the version that JPR has, but I add a few more things to it to make it look more presentable. On the left side here, there's a bunch of themes that is basically breaking down from the Unicode sign from 0 to whatever the largest. And then the last one here is an extra emoji compilation. So I'll come back to this in a little bit. So the basic Latin character set, and again, I try not to waste any of the things that I cannot, that we not going to use. So I remove some of the control characters and the characters that cannot be rendered. So you only see only the useful stuff on the screen here. So all of these characters, as you click on it, you'll see that there's a preview here that tells you that, oh, that's the character number 37 for decimal. For the hex representation is 25, right? So all of these, can be used in 4D already. Now let's go to something a little bit higher. So let's try something like that, So you can see that all of these characters can be displayed in the context of 4D UI. At the same time, all of these characters can also be stored inside of 4D as well, because 4D does support Unicode. But what we want to talk about here in the context of using special characters to improve your user experience and user interface, we want to represent those characters in one of our widgets, right? So a button or part of a list box. So for example, giving this particular area, this is a list box area that I use to display all of these characters. Let's try something a bit more. Let's go for, oh, here. So if you've never seen a Thai character, as you can see, we have all of these things. I used to be able to type in Thai, but not so much anymore. You can click on it. You'll see that these characters are, again, can be displayed in different parts of 4D. Let's go down here to probably the one that I was looking for a lot more lately, which is some of the arrow symbols. Because of these, are the things that, if you're gonna get even a simple things like this, right? Almost like a refresh type of symbol icon that you can use, or even the right and the left arrow that has a particular look and feel. This one is, hollow in the middle and then has a line around it. There's nothing that you can find within a 4D that will keep you that. So, without this, I have to go and get an icon from probably a free resource somewhere, or even have to purchase it. But now that we have this particular characters available to us, there are a number of things that we can do. So in this area, if I right click on here, I can actually copy this icon, okay? This icon actually being a character. If I click copy here, and I can go and open up probably a text editor, create a new document. I can paste it, the icon into the text document. I can make this document, the font a bit bigger so you can see what it looks like there, right? So it's actually not an icon, but rather a rendered Unicode character that is available for anything that has, can handle Unicode character. So what about, let's go down to the bottom and go to the emoji part that has a collection of a bunch of emojis characters. We'll go ahead and pick something, something like that, okay? I can do the same thing by doing a copy. Basically what it does is copying the actual character, and I can paste it in. And you can see that each one of these are just a simple character in a text document. I can delete it, I can add it back in, and I can have as many characters I want. And the weight of it is quite small, right? Versus if you have to go and find a picture that has this particular look and feel, the color, the size of it is going to come into play when you have to deal with the, how many characters or icons you want to have in your document or in your interface. Let's hide that. Now, there are a number of things that you have to consider when you try to use these characters in your interface. How would you integrate it properly? It also depends on which character that you are using. So for example, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to click on show implementation example. And this is the things that I try to do is, if you're looking at this example, how would you easily put this into your own application? So I added this option in there. It's going to tell you these three options. For example, if you would like to display this character or in a plain text object, a button or a plain text variable, all you need to do is just use the SHA command with the particular character code, which is 9961 for this case. And once the UI is being rendered on the screen, you will get this character display like this, okay? Now, if the object is a multi-style text, you have to do a little bit extra work. That is, you have to compose a multi-style text span tag that looks something like this, right? Now, the code itself here, if you are using the decimal value, then the format would be ampersand, pound, and your decimal value, semicolon, okay? That will be the representation of that character. However, if you have a hex value of that character, you have to add X in front of your value, which is, you start with ampersand, pound sign, X, and then your hex value. It will give you exactly the same representation. Now, there are differences between some advantage and disadvantage for using one over the other. If you are using a plain text object for a variable that you want to display this value or character, the size of it depends on the font size that you set to that object. For example, if you have a button or a text object that you set the font size to 14, the size of this icon will obey that font size. However, if the text is set to multi-style text, you have to control, you can override individual characters to have different font size, which could be convenient in different design. And to do that, you have to add in style and font size attribute, and then you define any font size that you want to have for that particular character, which is convenient, right? You can control this individual character that you have within your object, rather than depending on the whole global definition of the font size for that object. Okay. Now, again, all of these are available to you. And if I scroll down a little bit more, you can see that the emoji set of characters contains a bunch of stuff. And some of them, you're probably not going to care about it in your business application. But when you scroll down a little bit more further with some of these set of icons, you're starting to see that, oh, some of these things actually are applicable to your to a business application. For example, this folder icon, you can use it to represent a folder or open, right? That's a similarity to the next icon. Again, you go through all of these icons, and they are available to you without having to go through all of the purchasing and getting the new icon for your application, which is quite nice. So I take this and I started to play around with an idea of how to utilize all of these in an application. So let me close this window and go to my example here. So the next example on the list, this is, again, I'll start from something very simple. I want to be able to just add an icon that specified part of my windows where I can drag, expand, and collapse my window. So here's a simple window. You can see that I have an icon right here. As I move my mouse over, there's nothing special, right? Because I could do this even without the icon, but I want the icon to be there so that it can represent what it's supposed to do. So again, this is a simple use case for it. Another one would be perhaps a pop-up, right? So I used all of the arrows representation with the term, with the precise term next to it. And when I click on it, it will change let me show you. So here's a small button. When I click on this button, it gives me options. And these options are constructed based on the character code that I have included for each term. So I can choose any one of them. And for whatever I selected, I assign that particular term along with the icon to the button. Okay. And let me show you the code behind this. It's actually quite simple. Let me trigger my trace. As I click on this button, okay, my debugger comes on. Right now, the pop-up doesn't happen yet. what I do is I'm building a collection, and you can do this in many ways, right? But I choose to use collection because it's quite easy. So I have a collection of all of these characters added, and you can see right away, you know, all of these characters that I put in using char command, embedded and plus, which is concatenate. When it goes into my collection and element, it looks like that, rendering automatically in the debugger. And now that I have a collection of all of the choices, I want to build my pop-up. So I use the command the function join with the semicolon to break them up and construct an expression here. So again, this is quite simple. You guys all probably do this yourself. And then I call the command pop-up menu. When I click on here, it's going to come up right there. So whatever I select, okay. Well, I go to the next line, which is you know, I grab the okay. So all I need to do is I know which one I selected, and I just do a -1 because collection starts from 0 to n-1. And based on that, I assign the choice, selected choice of the text into the object title, and that's it. Okay, so this is, again, there's nothing very special. All we're dealing with is just straight up character, Unicode character that 4D does support already. Close that.
Which I'll add is very nice. Has long been something that's been heavily valued at the museum, the Art Institute of Chicago. Obviously, you know, with some of our artworks from around the world and artist names from all over the place. You know, it's nice to have multiple different names in different languages with the different characters, and it's great to be able to have full support throughout the system for all the Unicode.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that I mean, all of these are available, it makes application more powerful in terms of the display and the user's interface design.
Right.
So let's go to the next example. Again, and this thing, and I used this quite a little bit in my implementation over the years. So let's open it up. So for example, when you have an option that you allow the user to select, normally you might not care for it, but in some cases you might want to add perhaps an icon to signify your selection, right? So this icon is basically another character that I assign to this particular area, to this column. This is a list box with 2 columns. So the first column here, you know, in the past, I would be adding a picture column. I don't need to do that anymore. All I need is just a text column. And every time when I select, I just assign a particular character to that column. Same as this feature. So you can see that instead of using the highlight, I can show an icon that represent my selection, right? And I use the right arrow key because the interface could be built that this panel is on the left and you have the detail areas on the right. Another nice thing about this is when, especially on a Mac, because this is the display of the Mac OS is in the regular mode, the display, the light mode. When I switch to dark mode, okay, you can see that it has the contrast that is correctly displayed. Just imagine if you have this column displaying as picture, if your icon is actually black, when you change the contrast on the display appearance of your system to dark mode, your icon will continue to be black. It's not going to change the contrast. So you can't really see. By using an icon, the Unicode character in this fashion, you can see right away that it actually has the correct display color, which gives us the right contrast for your selection, which is really nice. Okay, let's push it back. Okay, so let's go to the next thing. All right. So again, this is in fact, I started my implementation ideas from an interface that looks something like this. So an icon on the left side that represent my sidebar to give me an option to navigate. All of these things came directly from a character that I assigned to an individual element in the list box. So this whole thing is actually a list box, right, with this number of elements, and each one of them has its own character assigned to it. And what's nice about using list box for this type of things is that I have an option, especially with the newer version of Listbox now. Not new. I think it's been a while since that feature is available, which is the vertical alignment. So I have the alignment to set to horizontal, centered, and vertical centered. So all of these characters are being displayed in the middle, that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Otherwise, it will be anchored to the top left, which might not be nice, right? So that's the option that I like, and that's the reason why I use quite a little bit of the list box in multiple of my interface for this type of implementation. And every time when I click on it, it's basically just a selection of a list box element. And again, if I go back to switching the dark mode, all of these icons continue to look quite nice too. There's no there's no area that you cannot see because it's automatically adjusted for you. Okay. And I also have a similar example, which is instead of using it in the sidebar, I built also a toolbar, which is something that we are familiar with, right? So I have all of these available. So I also assign an action to each one of them, which is it's simple. Right now I don't do anything, so I know which one I click on. But the render of it and the source of it essentially came from a character that you assign to that I assigned to each one of them. Now, there are some issues, obviously, with the rendering cross-platform, and which I learned at the beginning of my process. The majority of my implementation started on the Mac, which is great. I always find that the Mac icon has a much better, richer look and feel. So when I moved my application to the Windows, depending on the system that you're running, not just Windows, Windows 10, Windows 7, they all have its own. Actually, Windows 7 don't even bother anymore, because if you open up some of these same character, it rendered the look and feel of it. It's not very good. And plus the new version, the current version of 4D now actually does support, it runs much better under Windows 10 and above. So I want to show you just a little bit of what it looks like on on Windows 10. Okay, so this is just a screenshot that I took from another system, which is Windows 10. So if you do a comparison of this, sidebar, it has essentially the same character, but its rendering of the character are never the same. The Windows is always more flat looking, and it's never it's always a strong color too, right? It's it's just the way it's designed, it's being designed, and how it's being rendered. But you know, if I go to another screenshot, that's coming from the next example, you can see that the colorization is not as soft as the map. You know, you get that kind of look and feel, which is fine. In the most case, I don't think it is ugly or any mean. But there might be some cases where you would like everything to be a bit more consistent, right? This is the icon I created on my platform. When I want to move my application to a different machine, I would like the icon to look exactly the same. Well, there is a way to do that. Okay, so let's go back here a little bit to the first palette. So let's go back to the palette and just go down to this. We'll go down to emoji here. Let's pick something. Okay, like that guy right there. Okay, so this is what it looks like on the map. So if you want to maintain this throughout your design, you have an option to convert this character into a picture. And to do that is quite simple. You stick that character into an SVG, convert SVG to a picture. That's it. So in here, there is an option that's available for you already, save as picture, and you can choose from any of these sizing. You can extend, you can even increase the size to be bigger if you want. But if you want to convert into size 36, it converts the character. It opens up the folder that it sends the picture, save the picture to. You can double click and you can see that this picture has been created for you for that particular size. Okay. And then let me close this. I want to show you an example that I created earlier for this particular process. Under example, I think it's here. Okay. So this example form has the toolbar interface built in. However, all of these, instead of using individual character, I'm using a picture. Okay. So let me show you what it looks like right now. So you can see that this picture is there, this picture is there. We are missing upload and download, okay? And we have find and settings. So what we want to do is we'll go ahead and grab one for upload and download and assign to it. But I want to show you the code behind it, okay? This is very simple. I have a project method that I send in the name of my picture that I want to grab. And then the picture that I have, assign it to this particular object, which is a button object, an input object. Okay, so this is an input object, which is like, you know, and then I assign it to a picture type. But right now, because I'm missing two pictures, I'm going to go back to my palette. Let's start the demo again. Let's open up, okay. And because I know where it is, I'm just going to go directly to it. It's part of my emoji set. I'm just gonna scroll down and see if I can locate it. I think it's somewhere around here. Okay, so that's those two icons. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start with this guy right here. I'm gonna save the picture, okay? And I'm gonna set it to maybe, I don't know, 36, right? So this one will be upload and you can see that it's there. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove the term 36 because all I need to do is just locate the picture with that value and then load it. I'm doing the same thing for my next icon, which is the next one. Save 36, okay. I'm gonna change the name, just remove 36 dash, okay, that's it. All right, now that I have these two pictures available, I can use it in my interface now. So let's close this window. Let's close that and go back to 4D design mode. So in here, when I call this method wrapper method, but this is just a quick way for me to reference by using the name. So if I go inside, all it does is, it go and grab the picture based on the name, but this name has to be converted into the actual hex value. So if you look inside of this method, you see that I have a bunch of case of that I predefined my condition for, let's see, upload, where is it? Oh, here, the first one is going to return this value, okay? And based on that value, I will grab a file name with, value, and then just read the content and return back the result. That's it. So back to this form. Now, if I'm running this form, you can see that I have the picture there, available to me, and the function continue to be there, but now I have the representation of this particular icon that I want to use for my button. Okay. All right, so again, all of these demonstration, I try to give you a little bit extra of the demos and different use case, and the code itself is quite simple. One word of caution is, again, when you start designing your UI using an icon, usually you would like to pick an object that represent that icon best. For me, if I'm going to choose anything, it will be, I know it's kind of weird, but a drop down, a list box with one column, one element, right? That single element, because it allows me to have the alignment set to center for both vertical and horizontal. To me, it works very best. But otherwise, you can always use all the 4D objects, text object to represent your icon and allow you to use it as a widget, a clickable widget, perhaps. So that's kind of one thing I want to point out. But yeah, and if anything that you have any questions, this is the good time to go ahead and ask. That's the end of the presentation.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does the font selected, since these are all text values, does the font selected have a difference?
The actual font selection doesn't mean anything when you well, it does mean something for particular characters, right? But for any rendered picture or emoji, it doesn't change the look and feel. The only thing that has an impact is the font size.
Okay. So it can be Arial, it can be the system font, it can be Tahoma, it doesn't matter. When you specify one of these Unicode characters way up there in the tens or hundreds of thousands, decimal range, the font selection bypasses it. It goes somewhere else. These are not stored inside of a particular font.
Right. There's also one thing that I forgot to mention. Let me talk about it quickly. So there is a range of characters that you can use the command char directly, which is fine. But anything that is above 65,535, you have to do extra work to make sure that you get the right character into your text variable. So let me show it to you. So for example, I'll pick this one as an example. So when I show you this screen, right, you can assign the value exactly just like that, right? Put in the character code into the char character. But if you go above the range, the majority of the emoji will have that go above the range. So you look at this, it's a little different, right? So the first thing you have to do is the command char will not render this. You will get just a square or unrecognizable icon. You have to construct just a temporary a span tag to represent that value as a multi-style text, okay? And then you will use the command st get plain text, which is you get the rendered version of it from that multi-style text tag. And then that's when you will get the right result displaying in your widget or UI or wherever you want to get it from. And I put in this window, if you look at any of the characters, it will tell you with it, if it's outside the range or inside the range. Otherwise, just follow the example that is showing on your screen. I think it's very easy to follow, and it's only 2 lines instead of 1 line.
Hey, Ad,
Yeah.
I have a question about that. So is the 4D characters, are they actually not able to store character numbers above 65,536?
No, it can, except that the command that will give you the rendered version of that character, which is what I used earlier, was char.
Okay.
It will not convert correctly. For example, here, let me just show you quickly. I'm going to open up any method, I guess. So I'll put this on the side. So this character, if I click here and I do copy, I can go down here, I can just paste in. You can see that character, available in 4D, right? And you can store this directly in the database as well, and which is fine, except that there's a certain range of characters that the command char will allow you to convert to convert. I call it render because it gives you the right representation rather than raw data. So that's kind of my point right there. If you go over a particular range, then you have to do extra step to make sure that you get the right rendered version of the character back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other question?
There was a another older knowledge base article that I was just thinking about, fraction strings using Unicode, where basically you're combining Unicode characters to make 1/6 or 1/32 or 1 over or whatever over anything, and that same strategy would be useful with being able to generate these icons on the fly. Just at least it's worth noting that there's some fancy things that can be done with these Unicode characters by combining them together. And I'll ask a question. What's the question marks on there? Does it just can't be displayed, or?
Yes. This is again. There are some characters that it's considered a character, but it is meant for something that's not supposed to be rendered, right? When you look at the Unicode character set, there's when it's given to a particular theme, there's a wide range, and I believe that they're reserved some of the space available for future addition, which I don't know. So those, when I'm trying to render, I will get something like this in the context of 4D because there's no representation for it.
Gotcha. I mean, those might be the accent characters that you're able to combine with the other ones, maybe. Like that.
It could be. A lot of time when you go to an online or a chart, a Unicode chart online, they'll give you everything. And if you look at some of these things, this will become just an empty right? It's basically just a blank. They may be using it as a control character or just reserve that code for a future extension.
There's a couple of other good questions in the chat from Kevin Porter. This is probably dating me. In a Mac, I think I remember that you could install a font into an application. Can this be done so it carries to Windows? And can that still be done on a Mac?
Well,
No.
yeah,
Fonts installed inside applications had to be in the resource fork, and that's dead. So that died with OS 9, basically, the embedding a font inside of an application. You could also embed it inside documents too. Really long time ago on Mac OS, you could put a font inside the resource fork of a document. Sometimes that would load up, but not in.
Okay.
yeah, I'll have to go with Tim's answer because I do not have an answer for that, to be honest.
The big no. Another good question from Ernie. When supplying a font size, if it's created in a page in which allows for growing of the icon, is it scalable basically? Will it resize and render accordingly, or will you need to keep that in mind as part of the programming in the UI?
So if what I mentioned earlier, if the whole widget or object that you're using is a plain text, the font size that you assign to the whole widget or object is basically what the rendering of that character is going to be. So if you change the size of the font programmatically, it will change the whole thing. But if you stretch the widget itself, the font will not grow along with it. It's not a picture, right? It's a character. So you have to treat it as a character, except that we are using it in a different context at that point.
Another question from Tom Swenson. Is every Unicode character available for the local operating system, or does the occasional glyph have to be fetched automagically sometimes?
My assumption is, every Unicode, because it's part of the specification and the standard. So you shouldn't have to go and fetch a Unicode from somewhere. It should automatically become available.
And that's, as a micro optimization, a naughty word in some circles. Some of this is nice that you're, with being able to use these glyphs locally sourced. You're not having to pack all these images in your resources folder and have it transfer over the network potentially many times. But again, that's just some kilobytes, if that.
Yeah, and for me, the nice thing is it's definitely the weight and just the variety of things that I can choose from. I'm not getting everything that I want in the world, obviously, but the majority of what I do and at least some of the icons, the characters, especially part of the emoji here are, can be used as a representation to some of your business app icon, which is quite nice, right? They are ready to use. You don't need to deal with licensing or requirement from anyone.
Yeah, free is good, and it will continue to stay in step with the OS as well, which is nice. Right. As more characters are added or emojis,
Yeah, the new emojis character is being added all the time. It's constantly being added and extended to the set.
I'm amazed that with each OS release, that's part of like the feature set, new emojis. Let's see, another question from Michael. Oh no, it's he's saying a according to Wikipedia, different fonts have different numbers of Unicode glyphs. Some have a few thousand, other have tens of thousands. Yeah, I think that's just part of the discussion.
Well, wait a
Yeah.
minute, wait a minute. He says, so I think the font chosen matters. So that was my question.
Hmm.
Does it matter which font you select in the list box for this text, column, and you're going to assign a Unicode value to it to give you one of these emojis or something?
The font, for example, if you look at this icon, right? There's no different font that you can change the look and feel of this icon on a single system.
But if I'm not right, a Unicode value is the same in every font. So that 128,246
That is
in
correct.
Arial, it should look like that, just like in Times or Helvetica, but they may not
Exactly.
have those values, but there's some font somewhere that has 128,246 decimal. And the system somehow goes and finds it, I guess. That's what I'm interpreting it as.
Right. I mean, the font usually based on a particular character set that it has, that it can represent, right? If you do like A, B, C, D, E, all of those things, which is standard, all of the font that you, if you choose one font, it's going to look different with choosing another font. But there are cases where all of these symbols are pretty specific, right? And it's within its own range where it doesn't matter which font that you selected, it's going to give you the same exact representation.
And if you want to get really creative, you can use the combine pictures logic or the old picture math in 4D to combine these images in some way or another.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, now that it's in Unicode, we can convert this picture or this code using SVG. So once it becomes a picture, you can do all kinds of tricks and things to it if you want.
Very cool. Okay, any other questions for Ad? Ad, that was great. So this is not only a good demonstration of code and strategy, but that's a nice little tool for basically shopping. Shopping for well-priced icons, as in free.
Right.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions for Ad? No. All right. Well, thanks, Ad, for the demo. I'm gonna share my screen back here.
Okay.
And
Thank you, guys.
talk about the next meeting. Just one moment, please. There we go. Suppose you all can see that, right? And we've already covered emoticons and questions there. The next meeting, as I mentioned earlier, can be found on the 4DMethod.com schedule page. We've got some really great content coming this fall. I'm real excited about next couple meetings as well. On October 6th, Tomas Mao is going to talk to us about 4D server monitoring using Grafana and Prometheus, a couple of popular open source monitoring tools. And on November 17th, we're going to get a presentation from Vincent Delachaux called Avec Classe, UI with class, user interface with class. And if you are familiar with any of Vincent's code, it's awesome. It's mind-bending what he's been doing with classes and formula and combining everything into extremely useful classes. And he's applied that strategy to form objects. And we'll be sharing a class with everybody for working with form objects, and it's pretty awesome. If you're curious about his approach to this kind of stuff, have a look at the 4D pop code. It will I mean, I know, at least it did for me, maybe not everyone, but it will certainly give you some ideas how to do things differently and take advantage of new features in 4D. Anyways, I'm excited about those. I'm excited to see you all in the next meeting. If you have any other questions, now is a good time. Throw them in the chat, or send some feedback to 4dmethod@gmail.com, or on the discuss 4D post that I put up for this meeting. You can also support 4DMethod at patreon.com/4DMethod. There's some nice little rewards there. It's always nice to get a little other kinds of support other than your participation. But otherwise, thanks for joining today. Thanks, Ad, and everyone there at 4D. Great presentation, and really look forward to seeing you guys soon in the next meeting. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Brent.
All right. Well, thanks, and we'll stop the recording there. Thank you. See you next time.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks. See everyone next time.